important is this weekend?
Well, this weekend is critical for the president. He's getting even more politically isolated, and he's physically isolated in Delaware right now. And he had to stop short his campaigning this week to go self-isolate in Delaware. Why this NBC report is so interesting, because if there's anyone that's going to be able to convince the president to step aside, it's going to be members of his family. And this is what the report says. The overall tone of the conversations has been that any exit plan, should Biden decide to take that step, as some of his closest allies increasingly believe he will, should put the party in the best position to be former President Trump, while also being worthy of the more than 5 decades he has served the country in elected office, these people say. Now, we should note, the White House and the campaign firmly deny this. They say Biden is sticking in this race. Biden has come out and said the delegates are his. There have been gaps in explaining what could make him potentially step aside. ABC earlier this month, he sat down with George Stephanopoulos and he said the Lord Almighty would have to come down and convince him. At a NATO press conference I was at with the president, he said potentially if had hard data, if polls showed he could not beat Trump, he'd be convinced. And then most recently this week, when he sat down with BET, he said if there was a medical condition that has emerged. So you do see some cracks in the president's reasoning. At the same time, the pressure mounting. This NBC report is citing a conversation with his own family, but this entire week it's been a drip of reports from the likes of Senator Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, and former President Barack Obama saying they are concerned that he is going to lose this race.
Annmarie, I guess at the end of the day, why does it come down so much to his own family and his own decisions when you're hearing a growing chorus of Democratic senators and former very prominent officials really step up to the plate with their concerns here?
I think part of it is that Democrats have counted Joe Biden out in the past. Look at what happened in 2016. They really looked him over. He said he got out of the race because of the death of his son, but they went for Hillary Clinton. He's been counted out before in the past, in his personal life as well in his political life. And he's been known as the comeback kid, and that is why everyone is saying this is so critical for him to make this decision on his own. But really, he's so close to his family, and he will make this a family decision. They talked about it, a number of times throughout his administration, whether or not he would seek re-election. As a family decision, they decided he will, and now it's going to come down to, his family and him himself making this decision, whether or not he decides to step aside. The most important individual surrounding him within his family, though, he has a lot of grandkids. Of course, he has his son, Hunter Biden, who we're now hearing is a part of more conversations, is his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady. She is really his North Star, and if there's anyone that's going to help him make this decision, it's going to be her.
I encourage anyone at the Bloomberg terminal, Annmarie, to check out WSL space election on the terminal. You see, for example, the betting market odds predict it has a 27% chance that Kamala Harris wins the presidential election versus 62 for Donald Trump and only 12 for Joe Biden. What are you hearing about the vice president in terms of her readiness to campaign?
Well, she has been on the campaign trail as well. One message she's been really focused on is a vulnerability in the Republicans. Donald Trump's speech last night, he hammered home 2 issues that are top of the pile for Republican voters: immigration and the economy, especially when he talks about inflation. One thing he did not mention, which part of his base want to see them talk about, is the fact that his Supreme Court, or justices that he was able to get on the Supreme Court, knocked down Roe v. Wade. And Kamala Harris has been out there campaigning on this, trying to get into the minds of independent voters why they should leave their couch November 5th and go vote for the Democratic ticket. So I imagine she is going to really want to lean in this message, because it's a vulnerability for the Republican Party, for those centrist individuals when it comes to abortion. Many think they're too extreme. When you look at some of the polling, when it comes to the economy and immigration, they say Trump would be a better president. When it comes to things like reproductive rights, they look to Joe Biden.
Well, Annmarie, you know better than most that the timing is very, very tight here. Of course, the DNC approaching in mid-August. Just walk us through what a potential timeline would actually look like here again.
It's honestly anyone's guess. It's a very gray area. It's uncharted territory. But what potentially I would say is the last final moment would likely have to be the day before the convention, unless they want absolute chaos on their screens, the Democratic Party, I mean, from networks being wall to wall on how this is contested, and they are very divided, deeply divided. That will be the takeaway if they don't have this shored up going into the Democratic National Convention kicking off in a month's time. So I would say that is really the do or die deadline. Of course, there's a little bit of this gray area as well with the fact that they want to bring up the roll call vote virtually. Depending if that goes through, we can see maybe where the balance is shifting within the Democratic Party. If they bring that up to August and Biden is able to hold on to that, it's going to be very challenging for someone to contest him at the convention. But if they push that back, potentially giving him more leeway to step aside closer to the convention.